Foods, welcome. We're going to show you a couple things here. These are bottles that are a little bit bigger than you're going to be using, but we had some more of them, so we're just going to show you the indexing. Then we're going to show you your bottles, smaller bottles, unscrambling and accumulating. All right, so here we go. As you can see, we're going to line up with this one, and we're going to pull in with that one, and we're filling at this third one here. So this is the one we're filling at. Line up. Boom. All right. Now we're going to show over here. We're going to show basically, take this off of there. I'm going to show your transfer here onto the conveyor. So this is unscrambling. These are the bottles coming down. They should go all the way down. Yep. And here we go. Follow it down. This one's a smaller bottle, so I was able to skip through that indexing. We're just showing you the transfers of it and how they go on. All right. And they will accumulate. And we're going to take you down. We're going to take you through how that all happened. So here we go with our screen. And we're going to hit stop right now. And we're going to go back to the beginning. I'm going to turn this stuff off for you so you can hear me. Okay. So this is the main screen right here. You can choose your language. Right now we're in English. We have auto run, edit recipe, system setup, and manual run. First thing we're going to do is go into manual run. Manual run, you can set up a couple things. The one is you can jog the auger. So if you listen, the clutch is going to be turning. You can empty the hopper out at the end of the day, or you can fill the auger in the morning. You don't want to hit it too much unless you're at the end of the day. When you're in the manual mode, mostly you want to be in something. You want the agitation to be with fill or continuous. The agitation is your blade that sweeps the inner wall of the hopper. With fill is how I would recommend. So at the end of the day, you have a little bit of product, or at the end of a run, just jog it with the agitation with fill. Indexing, as you can see here, this is how you can set up your bottles for different bottles, just by manually setting it up. So you can do exactly how we were showing you. Line this up. It should be 1, 2, 3 bottles is the fill. So just line them up with this one right here. We're going to index, and you want to make sure it goes right in between the 2 bottles to separate them. And we can also vibrate manually as well. Okay, we're going to return. That's the manual mode. Okay, we're going to go into system setup. System setup, we have some stuff on here that you don't have on your machine. One is a lift. You can see here, lift is 1 second. You're not going to be using this because it's disabled. We're not going to be lifting any bottles of this machine. We do have a cutoff on here. Again, this is going to be disabled. We don't have a cutoff on any of your products, and the same thing with the neck clamp. We don't have any neck clamps for your bottles. So those 3 items will be disabled. You can put numbers in here, zeros. It doesn't really matter. It won't affect anything. What you do have is your indexing, and you have your vibrating. So with your you want to make sure that these are enabled, because you're going to be using both of them for your products. So index enabled, vibrate enabled. Agitation shut-off delay is something you're going to have control over. If someone leaves for a shift, you want your agitation to turn off in a certain amount of time. You don't want to just keep stirring up the product. You put 2 minutes on there. That's pretty normal. Your increment, decrement. This is if you go into your auto run, you'll see that. But we're going to put this at 0.25. So every time you hit the up arrow or down arrow, you'll get 0.25 turns more with your auger. You also have a low level delay. You do have a level control on here that will control your screw feeder. Once it touches that level control, it'll take 3 seconds before it activates. That's a good number to start with, and you can play with that to see how you want to fill your hopper back up. Okay, now we're going to go into edit recipes. This is an important one. Right now we're at recipe 8, or number 8, and we call it recipe 8. You can call it whatever you want. You basically just tap on here, and you'll go into a screen with how you can name it. So if you want to do name it 2-ounce fill, just tap on this. You'll see a bunch of stuff come up. You can type in here what you want to call it. We called it recipe 8, and then you're just going to exit out of there. All right, so I exited out of there. So right now I named it nothing. Your mode is going to be right here. I'm trying to do this as I'm talking to you, but right now we're in turns, which you're going to want to be in. If your encoder were to ever fail, and your encoder is right up here, this is the black piece right up here, that were ever to fail, that's what's counting down your turns. You can turn it into time mode and do it by seconds. Right now we're doing it by turns. Right now we have 10 turns, which means we're going to turn the auger 10 full revolutions. If you just tap on that, you can turn the auger whatever you want. 5.23, enter. Now we got 5.23 turns. That'll be 5 full rotations and then 23 1/100ths of a turn. You'll be in with fill, like I said, mostly with all your products. That means the agitation blade will turn. That's the stir. That's a stir inside here. Will only turn when the auger turns. Fill timeout. That's if your auger turns for a certain amount of time. How long do you want that to turn for? 1 second. Let me just turn it off. So you can hear me better. Okay. This is how long you want your auger to turn. If your auger's turning, the encoder fails before it shuts off. Right now we have 300 seconds. It's kind of high, but you can bring that lower if you want. That has to be higher than your turns. So if your fill timeout is set at 5 seconds and you have more than 5 seconds of turns with your auger, it won't work. So set that at a higher number. Here's your vibration. We're going to do vibration with fill. So the vibrator, which is located here under the conveyor. It's right. This is the side view of it. It's right under the fill station. It vibrates the container. That will be on as the auger turns. How long do you want your vibrate after the fill? We have 1 second. You can change that if you'd like. It's a good amount of time though. Okay, right now we have some delays in transfers and settle times. Okay, the delay, the transfer time, we're gonna start with that one. That's the time it takes for your bottle to get in and out of the fill station. Your index cylinders, how quickly they work. Right now we're at 1 second. And you can see 1 second's pretty quick for the transfer time. That's how we ran it for the beginning video. Settle time after transfer, how long do you want it to settle before you move that bottle out of the fill station? 0.2 seconds, that's going to be a good time, maybe a little bit longer will be needed for your different products. Delay after fill, we have 0 seconds right now because we're not filling any product right now, so we're not delaying it. But when you get bigger products, you might want to delay it a little bit, and you can kind of play with those times. But the really nice thing about this recipe page is once you set your bottles up, and you have a big bottle, once you set that up, it's going to be in here at all times, and you won't have to ever worry about your transfer times and delays and all that stuff. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there, but once you get it, you're good to go. And that was edit recipes. Then we go back into auto run, which we were in to start with. I'm going to start with the more and less. Remember we did the 0.25. So if you go more or less, it'll go up 0.25. You can see that went up 0.25, down 0.25. So if you're getting too much in your bottle, too little in your bottle, the operator can just hit more or less on that. They don't want to do it too much. They don't want to play with that too much. But if you're consistently getting a higher amount or consistently getting a lower amount, you can hit more or less. Coast is just how much that's just nothing you're going to touch. If you can see that, it's a little blurry, but that's called coast. That's just an automatic thing in there, which your clutch brake is going to do automatically. So it's just showing you how your clutch is trying to catch up to the 5.23 turns. We have a production counter right here. You can hit reset. We're starting at 0, so you can do your production run if you want to do 5,000 bottles. It'll be right on the production counter. Okay, so right now you can see the current selected recipe is 8. So we will be running 8. If you want to change that recipe, you're going to go down here and hit select recipe. And you can do previous or next. You can also go into this screen and hit whatever you want. I'm going to hit recipe 8 again, enter, and we're going to have recipe 8, and I'm going to hit return. And you're going to be back to, I'm going to be back to recipe 8, but you can choose whatever recipe. You have to be in this. Even if you edit a recipe, it doesn't mean you're going to be in that recipe automatically for running. So you can edit recipe 12 and then go back and hit return and still be running recipe 8. You have to change it on this automatic operation screen. So that's the number right there. And we are, let me see here, we'll go back and auto run. So basically, if we hit start here, we are ready to run as long as this photo eye is made. That means the bottles have to back up to this photo eye. Right now we put it upstream. You can put it downstream a little bit if you want, but that eye has to be made for the filler to start running. It won't start until the bottles are filled up. What I mean is filled up to this, starting from here all the way down. Once they get to that point, it'll start your fill cycle. And we're gonna hit stop right now. So that is your PLC right there. Let's go down here to some other stuff you got. Your fill motor has to be turned on. That's the motor in the back of the machine, very back. That's your fill motor. Turns a belt on top. That's what works your clutch. Your clutch won't run. This machine won't run unless your fill motor is on. We have a conveyor switch right here. We're going to do a little plate for you. It hasn't been done yet, but this is your conveyor off on. You see the conveyors is turned on. All right. This is your emergency stop. You can push that in for an e-stop. That has to be pulled out to run the machine. Over on the side, you have vibration. This is the intensity of your vibration. How much intensity do you want on there? Right now, it's at a good clip, but if you need more vibration, just turn it up. Less, turn it down. Down here is your conveyor speed pot. Right now, we're set right about in the middle. You can turn that up, you can turn it down, whatever you want to do. Right now, with a good speed, you may want to slow it down a little bit for the smaller containers, maybe up a little bit for the bigger containers for transferring purposes. Okay, let's go up here. You have your quick release clamps. How you take your hopper down, right? So you're not going to touch these bolts. You will not touch this one or this one. This is the bolt to take the entire hopper down. This L bracket, coupling, and hopper come down. All you got to do is loosen this bolt and it pulls out. There's little pins behind here that are locked, like in place. 2 pins, it lines it up. So just pull this whole thing off and you're good to go. If you do take these bolts off, we still have bolts underneath that lock it in place. We do not want you touching these because it's lined up straight here from the factory. Once you take that off, you have these quick release clamps. You have 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4 around. You just pull them off and the whole hopper pops down. This cover is going to remain fixed in place. All right. Up here is your level control. This is what's going to tie in to your screw feeder. We do have it tied into the PLC, and you'll tie it straight into the PLC but you have to tie your feeder into this system. Right now, it's actually vibrating, and then once the product comes up, it stops vibrating and says we're full. All right. A couple other items up here while I'm up here again was that encoder on the bottom. That is your main clutch brake, what turns your auger. There's a gear on there. There's chain that turns your blade. This is the agitation gear reducer and motor. Again, up above, you have stainless steel belt guard there, but there's some pulleys and a belt. All right. That's pretty much everything with the top of the machine. Again, going down here, you have legs for your conveyor. It's a freestanding conveyor. You can pull this conveyor out, pull it in, whatever you want to do. Right now, we are set up for these small bottles. Of course, this is going to have to be readjusted for your bigger bottles. This would have to move out. This would have to move out. These little bolts right here, you have to play with a little bit to get this piece out wider. All your guide rails are adjustable, so these would actually, obviously have to loosen up and pull out for your bigger bottles. So there's some setup things going on here with your couple different bottles. I know you're doing the bags too. We have this flat chain right down here that the bags would come down, and basically you're going to be having to stop the bags manually to fill the bags up, but they can run down the flat chain with no problem as they're filled. Down here is this is your unscrambling table. You just have an off-on right there, and how fast you want it to turn. We're at a good speed. Same thing with the accumulation table down there. It has the same controls. Okay, let's see if we have anything else we want to show you here. This is your PLC right there, and your inputs and outputs are on there. This is your that black lighted piece is your clutch brake power supply. That brake light wants to remain on until you run, then it turns, there's a wire there, but it turns green. You can see the other one that says clutch. That's your clutch relay right there. Here's your other power supply. That's a 24 volt. That's your conveyor speed pot right there. A couple other things just to mention it to you so you know what they are in case we start talking about something and you're not sure. Down here is your solenoid valve. This is where you're going to have to bring air to. And we brought our air line from the shop here. You guys have to bring air for those index cylinders to work. This is your main controller. This will shut down the entire machine, which I will do right now. That has to be on for the machine to work. That shuts all the power down. These are your contactors and overloads for your motors. The fill motor, which is again above us, and the agitation motor. These have to be they have to pull in for the motors to work. There are reset buttons on here, so you can reset if any of them have tripped, just like your circuit breaker box at home. So you can see here we bring a line out here. I believe this is 220. So you guys are just going to tie your 220 right into this big cord coming out. You can put a plug on there. You can bring it direct, whatever you guys want to do. That's pretty much it with that. And I think that is it. Let me just make sure. I'm going to walk around one time, make sure I'm not missing something. Yep, I think that's pretty much it. Again, just refresh on these cylinders. This is the one that lines it up. This is the one that goes in between the bottles, and there's going to be 1, 2, 3 bottles. For the smaller bottles, you may be able to get away with just 2, like line up and separate for the big bottles. You can figure that out when you guys get it. So, all right, so that's pretty much it. That wraps it up. Give us a call if you have any questions. We're at 610-466-1440. Thank you.